All right, I'm Isaac,
I'm Cole.
I'm O'Brien.
and this is the Criterion Coffee Club. We're three coffee addicts that just enjoy watching and making movies. We may not be regarded as leading experts, but we use our shared knowledge and experiences to help us dissect the world of cinema. So grab your favorite cup of coffee and sit back and relax. See, Cole, I told you I'd write an intro.
Hey, that's pretty good,
You
dude.
didn't believe me.
That's pretty good.
Intro.
Um, so what are y'all drinking?
I just had my customary 2 shots of espresso, and now I have a Waterloo sparkling water.
That was not the Guy Fieri Flavor Town one.
No, not the Guy Fieri one. This is a raspberry nectarine. I usually 2 shots of espresso and then like a cold beverage. It's usually a sparkling water, but that's how I start the day.
I've sinned against man and nature. I'm still just on tea today, but Miss Stanley makes such good tea, and yeah. But I'm going to switch to coffee as I always do. Some people, it's crazy. Some people start off the day like with coffee at 8 o'clock, and unheard of hour anyway. 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and I transition to it. For me, I transition to it about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and just keep drinking coffee till midnight. And I'm still here.
Well, they do recommend that you don't drink coffee immediately.
I wait at least an hour.
Yeah, because like caffeine isn't a stimulant that actually wakes you up. It tricks your brain into thinking that you're
it's a blocker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they say 90 to 120 minutes after you wake up to actually give your body time to wake up is like, and then after that you should start ingesting like caffeine.
Yeah.
Because that's why like some people like crash super hard when they don't wait, because they drink it like immediately and then they're just
you have to give yourself at least time to naturally wake up.
Yeah.
And then you can start getting that sweet caffeine in your system.
But I'm drinking iced coffee that I brewed today.
Yeah, it was a beautiful setup.
Oh yeah. I did just buy a new pour over set. It's actually not that expensive. It's like $20 for the pour over.
It looks nice though.
Yeah, it does. It does look really nice, given that it's like $20. But apparently they're all like kind of like round up price. Usually like the bigger it is, the more expensive. Or if it's like some kind of automated thing like espresso machines or
right, but like a pour over is like like a beaker and a funnel.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
There's like one that I really like watching because it looks like a chemistry experiment.
Yeah.
Where it's like this like a literal bottle and then a beaker on top of it, and you light it and you heat it up by using a Bunsen burner that it comes with.
Yeah.
You put like the coffee and the water together, and then you light it with Bunsen burner, and it gets hot that all the like evaporated water pushes through the coffee on top.
Yeah.
And then brews the coffee on the very, very top. So it's like water on the bottom that heats up and goes through like a funnel into the coffee grounds, and then it pushes, like extracts the grounds that way and turns back into liquid form. It's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
And this is that small little device that you have, right? That you're describing.
No, this is a different one.
Oh, okay.
He's starting to collect all these different.
I don't have that one.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that way of coffee being brewed. It was at the Starbucks. It was their roastery in Seattle, not the original place, but it's a
Yeah.
The like big 4-story one.
Right, with all the tubes coming through. It's like, yeah.
If y'all, a Starbucks roastery is one of the coolest. They have one in Chicago.
Yeah, that's where I've been to.
Yeah, we always go to when we would visit my brother, and if you haven't been to a Starbucks roastery, it is an experience.
It's incredible.
Cool.
All those pipes and tubes and everything. Yeah, it's fantastic. And yeah, and that's where I was at. The one in Seattle had the multi-story one. They brewed coffee just like that. It was like a $12 pot, but it was like a whole 30-minute demonstration. They come up and describe how the coffee's made, and go over the science of that. It was worth every penny. It was and great coffee too. Had 3 or 4 cups out of the deal. And it was
Yeah, I've been to one of those, but like now I don't ingest Starbucks.
Oh no, I don't typically go to my
I
way
have
for
issues with
Starbucks.
them.
Well, it's not my favorite coffee, and I think for the
Wait, you don't like
price,
pike roast?
not really. And I think for the price that they're charging, there's just way better coffee options
Yeah.
almost everywhere.
And usually locally.
Yeah, and locally, but also like I love a Dunkin' cold brew. Like I'm a
Dunkin' has good cold brew.
yeah. I don't really do. To be fair, I don't really mess with their coffee that much, but their cold brew is awesome. But yeah, there's usually local places better if I'm paying for coffee.
and it's good to keep the local places, help them out too. Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%.
And
Because
sometimes you'll find a local place that roasts their own coffee as well.
Yeah.
Like there's one place, I think it's 30 minutes from here. I know it's 40 minutes from where I live. So I like almost never go there
Yeah.
unless I happen to be 10 minutes away from it, from whatever I'm doing that day. But they roast their own coffee. So they have like pretty much as fresh of coffee as you could possibly imagine
Right.
because they roast it and then they grind it and then it goes in your cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really good.
You
And you
can't
can
beat
buy the
that.
beans.
Yeah.
And there
Well,
is
I've got today's coffee fact. If
Ooh.
now seeing as our movie is based out of Belgium, with these Belgium-based filmmakers, I noticed that Belgium, and this is just straight off a site about coffee, Belgium is renowned for its huge diversity in coffee. One thing that's interesting, it's got the world's largest storage hub for green coffee, and I just realized green is unroasted coffee.
Yeah.
There's 250,000 tons of coffee goes through Antwerp, Belgium every year, and that represents 27 billion cups of coffee, which is so I didn't realize Belgium had that strong of a connection to coffee. But the funny thing is, the filmmakers apparently don't drink a lot of coffee. And there's no connection to. They don't have a direct like a particular director that might enjoy a type of coffee. There's nothing to be had with these directors. But they made a good movie, and
Well,
so there's my
well,
coffee fact.
Yeah.
do you have a fact for us today?
I do. I did provide something to bring to the opening today. I have
So you do contribute.
Yes, I have a movie fact and I have today's question.
Oh.
So for the movie fact, this is not related to our film, but just a fun movie fact.
Okay.
Did you know that Steven Spielberg applied to the Southern California Film School 3 times and got denied every time?
Wow.
Yes,
USC.
I did. Because I saw the Fablemans.
Oh, I guess if you've seen the Fablemans, you know that. But it's pretty interesting. And then also, like, he goes to college and then just drops out. But
yeah,
just imagine being like that admissions person.
History also has like another guy that got denied from an art school.
Okay.
His name was Ryan Reynolds. He failed drama class.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Ryan Reynolds failed drama class.
There
you go.
And you can't beat that film Finding the Fablemans to kind of see that period, because it talks about Steven Spielberg making that first film we did with his family. I mean, like a Western film with great effects, and it really made it. I can't believe that didn't get him into USC. That's amazing. That's their loss. I'm sure.
Yeah. I know, you're like, especially like, I don't know. You just have to be like, man, we could have had
Steven Spielberg as our list of alumni.
Yeah, like top of the list immediately.
Yeah, I mean, like Lamar, which all 3 of us we went to, and O'Brien taught at. I did tours for like their admission for a while.
Yeah.
And one thing that they always said that we had to bring up on the tours was that Kelly Asbury went to our school. I don't even know if he actually graduated from it, but we always had to bring up that he went to the school.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who Kelly Asbury is, for those of you that don't know, he was in the art department for the first Shrek movie.
Yeah.
and he based Lord Farquaad's castle off of our library.
Yeah.
And then he went on to direct, in my opinion, the best Shrek movie, Shrek 2.
Yeah.
So
I need a hero, you know?
he also directed Romeo and Juliet. You
Right.
can't win them all, but
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
But that is a fascinating fact. I keep forgetting he our library is modeled. The Lamar Library is was the model for Lord
Farquaad's
Farquaad's castle.
It's really funny.
it's so goofy, but so funny.
Yeah. The okay, the question I have for you today.
Yeah.
I was listening to a conversation a different podcast, and they were talking about how star appeal, there was a while where it kind of dipped in the sense that like there's definitely an era, particularly like, well, for the vast majority of how long we've had film,
Yeah.
but where there's like, okay, you know what, we'll take a risk on any film as long as we can have like 2 of these like A-lister type people in it, because that's like a guaranteed box office draw. And so as long as you get these 2 people on board, you can get your movie made. And that was kind of dying off a little bit, as you know, in the mid 2010s, just because IP became the single driving force really for guaranteed box office draw. I am of the opinion that is changing a little bit, because I do think we have stars right now who pull box office and have the ability to swing box office, or at least like Timothy Chalamet, like as an example. I guess this is a real roundabout way. Is I was just thinking about that a whole lot. Is there anyone right now currently for you as an actor, not like as a filmmaker, as just an actor in a film, that has that draw where you're like, that person's in it, and if they're in it, I'm just willing to take a shot. I'm gonna go to the movies, see what's up.
Oh, for like us?
Yeah.
Not just in general?
Yeah. For you specifically working right now.
Okay. I think for me, I think this goes without any surprise to anyone out there, but it's got to be like probably Bruce Campbell,
Right.
just because he's the king of B movies.
Yeah.
So I know going in, it might not be a good movie, but I know he's at least trying, and this actually goes true for Nicolas Cage. So I'll do Bruce Campbell and Nicolas Cage, because they don't always end up in great movies, but I know that they give it 150%.
Yeah.
That I will come out of it going, I enjoyed that guy.
Yeah.
In that movie, even if I like, I watched part of a Nicolas Cage movie called Kill Chain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember anything in that. I just remember Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Like, the movie was unremarkable if it wasn't for Nick Cage. And there was like the one film did, Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah.
Which was like Five Nights at Freddy if done right.
Yeah, Kylie loves that movie.
Yeah, that movie's awesome, but also at the same time, I remember thinking when I watched it, genuinely, if Nick Cage wasn't in that, I probably would have fallen asleep.
Yeah, it's almost a
which is crazy because he doesn't say a word throughout the whole movie.
Right, he's a silent protagonist.
I'm pretty sure that it was definitely his idea. Like, he went, guys, what if I didn't say anything the whole time? And honestly, he was better for it. He came up with, like, it was just enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because of that and his like charisma or his Nick Cagey-ness.
Yeah.
Yeah, Niccolo Coppola really killed with that.
Wait, Cole, that's a great question, and I am scared. I would go with Nick Cage too. I'm gonna cheat and just latch on, but I'm gonna add in one person. I don't know why I'm thinking of her, but she hadn't acted in a while. But she always the name. I'm really interested in the film. It's always going to be a good film. But it's been years since she's been anything. It's Gina Davis. It's been a while, that you think of, but she's always in something interesting. It's going to be compelling. She was even a Pirates movie where she played the chief swashbuckler, and the movie kind of got panned, but she's really good in it. I can't remember the name of it. It might have been with Elwes. What's the actor's name? The other actor was what's his first name? Elwes. He's from the Princess Bride.
Oh, Gary Ellis.
Yes,
I know
might
what
have
you're
been.
talking about. He was Robin Hood, and he
Yeah.
was the cool guy in Princess Bride. I can't remember his character.
Oh,
name.
yeah.
But he's played as the cool guy.
As you wish.
He's good. I heard though that Gina Davis is just really really picky about the roles.
Which she
Yeah,
does.
that could be.
So she'll go like 4 years without being in anything.
I just thought of somebody.
The opposite of Nick Cage.
Yeah, well, Nick Cage also went bankrupt
Yeah.
because he bought the cursed house owned by the Queen of Voodoo in New Orleans.
Right.
And brought about, and if New Orleans Louisianans will tell you, it brought about the curse that led him to bankruptcy. I say it was a bad financial decision to have a pyramid that will be your inevitable tomb in your backyard be built for an absurd amount of money. That's why he went bankrupt. I don't know if you knew that.
Does he build a pyramid?
He built a pyramid in his backyard that's going to be his tomb for when he dies. He will be buried in it.
In his backyard?
In the backyard of that place.
Of the haunted
of
the cursed mansion
in
by
New Orleans. The Queen of Voodoo, who tortured her slaves in scientific or voodoo experiments. That was crazy. It's the story of that house is actually absurd.
And
Cole,
he said, "I'm going to buy this house,
it.
build a pyramid in the backyard, and that's where I'm going to. That's my final resting place."
Yeah, but it was also probably more a little Nick Cagey than that.
Yeah.
Like, this house has history. I'm going to buy it. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to buy it. And then Kal-El, my son, is going to bury me in my pyramid. I don't know if you've seen pictures of his son, Kal-El. He looks like Marilyn Manson.
I had no idea his son was named.
Yes.
Super.
Wow.
That's just a lot.
Nick Cage is a huge comic book fan. Actually, so he's a Coppola.
Yeah,
his uncle is Francis Ford
I was aware he was a Coppola.
Yeah, so to avoid being casted because he's a nepo baby by blood, to Francis Ford Coppola of all people.
Yeah.
After he did his first role, which was Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He changed it to Nicolas Cage, and he came up with Cage after his favorite superhero, Luke Cage.
Oh my God.
That's wild.
I thought of one more because I was cheating with Nicolas Cage. Gary Oldman is one of those.
Gary Oldman's a good one though,
and can be anybody. Winston Churchill, good God, and and he played this crazy guy in that. It'll come to me. It's such a good film. We talked about it last week. It's an Arrow film. Gary Oldman plays. Oh well, it'll come to me. We'll just leave it go, and then it'll come to me. So, yeah. But yeah, it had Samuel L. Jackson. Really interesting film. Arrow film.
Samuel Jackson's a great one.
He had a bit part of. Oh, here, look, I got the Gary Oldman filmography here. This one's way back in like '96. Let's see. He's been in so many darn films. It's such a good film, and he was not the star. Anyway, well, I don't want to slow us down or make us edit or anything. We'll come up with it. We'll figure it out. Anyway.
I think Cole
Christian Slater is the star of the film, by the way. So.
Oh, True Romance?
Yes.
Yeah. I was like trying to think. What did we
Good
talk about?
catch. Good catch. You figured it out. Yes. Well done. Okay. Enough of that.
But the 90s were a really good example of what you're talking about.
Yeah,
because I mean, Keanu Reeves in The Matrix.
Yeah,
the entire cast of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, or like, I mean, and he still has some drama, like Brad Pitt in like late 90s, early to mid 2000s.
Fight Club.
Yeah, I mean,
Edward Norton was hot.
Yeah, Edward Norton. Leonardo DiCaprio, obviously,
in several films.
Yeah.
That decade.
Well, and then like it was just like even if they did something that wouldn't be typically seen as commercially viable,
Yeah,
they were in it. That's enough for it to
Morgan
make
Freeman
X
and
amount of money.
Morgan Freeman, Shawshank,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
Tom Hanks and Forrest Gump.
Tom
And
Hanks is a
Toy
really
Story.
Tom Hanks is a really big one. I mean, in the late '80s, like through the '90s,
Yeah.
his box office draw was guaranteed. Like
Good point.
we're making our money back at least guaranteed just
Yeah.
because we cast Tom
Oh,
Hanks in this film.
even today, another Tom Cruise.
Yep, Tom Cruise.
90s Tom Cruise too.
Hey,
Yeah.
they made money on the last Mission Impossible movie. So
Yeah, which is crazy because they had so
They
many
spent-
COVID related
Yeah.
delays that movie skyrocketed.
I think they
in
made
its budget.
pretty sure they made money on that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh.
No, they didn't make as much money on it because they didn't have their IMAX shafted them out of the theaters
Oh,
to
really?
replace it with Oppenheimer. Yeah, Tom Cruise. I don't know if you saw it. He
Yeah.
was pissed
Yeah.
because they had a deal that they and
Yeah.
IMAX only has one screen because they're so big.
Yeah.
And so they were like, nope, flicked them to the side and did Oppenheimer instead for the month. So it really hurt their release.
But wait, I'm talking about there's one that's more recent than the Oppenheimer. one.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about part 2.
Yeah.
I forgot
Yeah,
that
part
one
2 they
actually
spent.
came out.
Yeah.
That dude, I mean, Tom Cruise stays making
Yeah,
Mission. I guess they're done now. They're
they're done until the studio says they're
until you're 80.
But also it's Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise like handpicks the directors. So
Yeah.
if Tom Cruise says they're done.
They're
They're probably done.
Yeah.
Until they reboot it.
Yeah. He's also as a producer on those films.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, Mission Impossible Part 2 has a lot in common with today's film, The Promise. No, I'm just kidding.
That's wild.
Totally
gonna
different
make
vibe.
next
still.
one. That was
That
Wow.
is my favorite segue. Yeah, we should probably start talking about the movie we're here to talk about.
Said Tom Cruise and Nicolas Cage.
I was about to go through a
crazy.
whole Tom Cruise thing. It's good. We gotta get ahead of that.
All right. Well,
Do you know who else has box office draw?
oh no.
Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, Brian, you didn't hear him. He said Jeff Goldblum.
Oh no, I didn't. You're right. I was thinking of the Jeff Goldblum Gina
You
Davis
see,
connection.
I was sitting here.
You're right. We're
and I was
missing
thinking,
a.
Man, who do I just go? Oh, he's in it. I'll probably watch it. I genuinely thought Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, good grief.
Because the
Yeah,
Netflix
that's it.
show
Yeah.
Chaos.
That's
I was-
true.
Like when it started pre-production and they said Jeff Goldblum, I was on board before
Yeah.
the trailer even came out.
In answer to your question, that's yet another. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
100%.
You know, and I may have roped everybody into bringing up Jeff Goldblum the first episode. Last 2 times though have all been you.
Last
Cole.
one was organic, okay?
Yeah, because you were on a dinosaur thing.
I watched Jurassic Park 3 last night.
The third one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one without
That's a
Jeff
good
Goldblum.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do kind of roast him in it at one point. It's really funny. I didn't notice, like, that's something I didn't remember about that movie, but there's like a whole dialogue he has with the kid, and they're like, Ian Malcolm sucks, huh?
That's funny. All right, well, on to today's
La Promise.
yeah, number 620, spine number
Ah,
in the Criterion collection.
La Promise. Yes, that's it. Yeah. Channel our inner French. So, yes.
This-
So, how
is
did
a-
you guys like it?
oh,
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's I mean, it's a Belgium. My brain just stopped. It's a Belgium film.
Right.
Yeah,
film from Belgium
film from Belgium
or French film.
or a French film. It is. They do speak French. We're getting there. But it's I look, when we read the synopsis of it last week, I was like, this is a crazy premise from a film. And I think I really love how intimately shot it was.
Yes. The
It-
cinematography was gorgeous.
It's beautiful. It reminds me of a lot of and this film predates kind of like the Dutch New Wave stuff, but it reminds me a lot of how that shot, where there's a lot of like the camera is always trying, typically throughout the film, the camera's really trying to give you a lot of POV. It's a lot of intimate, kind of over handheld, over the shoulder stuff, because we're following, particularly in the beginning when we're kind of getting into like the kid's world. Like there really is a lot of just like we're setting up his life, you know, and how he's living before we get into the root of the drama. And I just think it does a really excellent job of using the camera as an actual lens to see the world through the character's eyes. I thought it was beautifully shot, and I don't know if there's a direct connection, but like a lot of the like Dutch New Wave stuff technically kicks off like in the late 90s, and I would imagine like part of that is like all the Dutch New Wave is like almost everything is strictly handheld. I think that's one of like the rules that Claude Van Damme came up with, is like everything has to be handheld. The camera can never be on sticks. And this I don't know. We're constantly in handheld in this film, and there's something about it that feels very intimate. And I think I really appreciate that for the type of story it's trying to tell.
And no non-diegetic music. I mean, man, that was the only music was from the guy's boombox. Other than that, it just which kind of going along with your natural sense of net. It's all natural, over the shoulder, POV, get into the lives of the characters.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of like Cinema Verte documentaries. But being handheld throughout a whole movie, I feel like in 1996 was not like really common.
No, not at all.
Because those cameras were not like like
and they actually shot it on 16. They actually shot it on 16.
Yeah,
16 millimeter. Yeah, so a little bit lighter weight. Yeah, but still,
it was lighter, but still not as light as they are today. Even
and the film magazine is going to run out every 12 minutes, and
and then you got to set it down so you can swap it. But it did remind me a lot of like kind of those Cinema Verte documentaries, because you don't see like shot reverse shot type of stuff pretty often, or like throughout the film, and it's just like everything that's happening is blocked and staged in a way that feels very natural, where like the camera's just following the characters and what they're seeing, you know, like kind of like how when you watch like those documentaries, almost like the cameraman's not going to know exactly where the character is going to go to, what they're going to look at, what they're going to pick up. And it kind of felt like the camera was like a little bit more reactionary instead of actionary, like instead of anticipating what was going to happen. And why are you giggling to yourself, Cole?
Because I realized hold on earlier
you said Claude Van Damme. You were thinking Jean-Claude Van Damme, weren't you? I heard it. I was like, there's no way.
I did it in the moment I said it. My brain was like, oh, that was super wrong. And I just had to like quickly just Google like, what am I?
Well, he had been considered for the role of the father. No, I just made that up.
That'd be really funny.
Hey, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme was another 90s actor that had box office appeal.
There you go.
Blood sport. I mean,
but kind of to what you were talking about, Isaac, was I was in the documentary. Another, we always to speak of the Criterion goodies, those wonderful things that go along with the movie. They had two things at least, and they had a documentary, little interview session between the father and the son from the film, and it was filmed in 2012, which is like 16 years after the movie, or so 15 years, after the movie. So the son is now like 35. I think he was 16 and the father is a little bit older. But they talked about the rehearsal process for the Dardenne brothers, these brothers that made the film, and apparently they'll rehearse for a long time, and they want the actors to really be in the moment. They love the actors to be in the location. They film in the location, film it in chronological order, film in authentic, true locations, and really get the feel of that location. But once they get it locked into what they want in terms of a scene, like remember the scene in the bar where the father is with the mother, and then it's like he's got this date for the kid because he wants to initiate the
Yeah.
Oh
kid.
yeah.
Yeah, and so apparently, they were talking about that scene. Once they get it locked, they really try and act it the same way. I'm not sure if they're shooting multi-camera but if they're single camera, then they really do need to be in that same kind of mode so that their hands are in the same place, so they can have that sense of continuity. Of course, a lot of times they use some fairly long takes, but then other times, you'd be going back and forth, and they did want it to match.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um. Yeah, that scene in general was wild to me.
The scene leading up to
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
he's like, "You're a virgin? Yeah, it's about time you get laid."
Well,
Oh,
From his
God.
own father.
yeah, and it's also really sad because also is Maria his mother, or is that
I
his
think-
dad's girlfriend?
I think that's just his dad's girlfriend.
Yeah.
The actor did feel bad about teaching him how to smoke. I mean, and the time comes when it's just time to smoke. No, I'm kidding. These are my chalk cigarettes that you
That's
can eat up. I got them at the Amish restaurant. But
that was awesome.
but
Yeah, well, and then also handing him the cigarette,
Mm.
And he lights it for his dad, like every time they get in the van, except
pretty
Except-
much.
when his dad forced him to get in the van.
that was cold.
Yeah.
That was rough. Yeah.
The okay, I do want to talk about that, but the scene with his dad, gets in a fight with him. The girlfriend has to intervene so the dad doesn't completely lose his temper, and immediately the dad is once again is manipulating him, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Oh.
that's the one thing that really stood out for me with the father character is how much it's a passive manipulation that is happening, and he does get physical, he does get rough, but that's not the main way that he's keeping his son under his thumb. He buys him at some point, he buys him the ring,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Teaches him how to
he's
smoke.
always making him feel guilty for not helping his father enough. There's a real manipulation into, because the father's a slumlord. I mean, that's what he's doing, and he's
Trafficking
purposely
immigrants.
he's trafficking in immigrants and then housing them up, so he could use them for cheap labor.
Yeah, extortion.
Yeah.
Cheap labor, and takes as much money as he can. And the kid kind of buys into it for a while, but the kid's got a really good moral center at some point, and just can't do it anymore. Well, after the guy falls and breaks his leg, he's bleeding. He could have been saved. The kid is doing everything right, takes the belt to stop the bleeding from the immigrant worker, but the father doesn't want to deal with an undocumented immigrant that he's brought in. Didn't want to deal with the cops, and so he lets him die. And the kid, from that point on, the kid just changes, and it's amazing. It's
the general story is really a fight for this kid's soul. It is is he going to kind of let his soul rot like his father's, or is he going to kind of cling on to the morality that he obviously has,
to his innocent that we're born with, and
right. And this film explores that in a really interesting way, because I mean, at one point the kid is just going through the slum house. He's got his gold ring, and his jacket is full of cash, and he's just smoking cigarettes and taking rent, and it's it is pretty much you could see the path that his dad is laid in front of him. But when he also has that job as a mechanic, and the apprenticeship, and I think it's really interesting because the apprenticeship, I feel the kid is doing because he wants a life that's different than his father's. However, the dad, we see it when the inspectors come by, the dad needs him to have that apprentice paperwork.
Exactly. So what are you doing not in school?
Labor board.
Right. So they don't get in trouble with the labor board, and he doesn't have to go to school. There's no truancy problems.
That's
because
exactly.
he has assigned an apprenticeship so he can be a worker.
Even when the kid had started to resist some with his father, trying to just do the right thing, talk to the wife of the man who was killed, the wife of the worker, and she's a mom, and talk to her, and the father's furious for him talking with her, and then beats the kid, and then I think it was after he beats the not the living daylights or anything, but he does beat the kid. The girlfriend intercedes, then he hugs the kid in bed, and that manipulation, that hugging, you if you just look at that scene, you can go, this is kind of sweet. But on the other hand, if you know the manipulation, this is like worst dad in the world.
Yeah.
And one interesting thing was the actor that plays him in the documentary. They really did, every actor's got to have a point of view, and they said, no, you are a man that's trying to find. Here you are. The directors were saying the part is you're trying to find some dignity in this world, some sort of living that gives you a life, and you want to love your son. And I gotta admit, I couldn't stand the father so much. I had trouble seeing that point of view. But then once I heard that in the interview, I thought, okay, I kind of get that. He's trying, he's coping too in a bad system. It's horrible what he does, being trafficking in immigrants and being a slumlord. But still, it kind of gave the actor a point of view.
Yeah, I do think like he's a really interesting character,
Yeah.
just from the standpoint of like I do feel like he's corrupted by the fact it's like almost like a sense of survival. Like
Yeah.
what he does, you know, I don't know. Like I do feel like there's a side to his character where it feels like he just doesn't have any hope, and like this is just the way things are. This is how we make money. This is how we survive.
Yeah, because you see him go to like the welfare,
Yeah,
get like cut through the entire line.
Yeah,
Be like, oh, my son's in the hospital.
yeah.
And he's just like
Sent to
literally
the car.
sitting in the van.
But it's yeah. So like he is formed by this system, and I think he is trying to teach it to his son because he sees it as the only way for his son to be able to survive.
Good point. Yeah, that's
You
a good
know,
point.
and obviously the incident had puts an into like puts all that in jeopardy, and so like you do see the dad kind of go into survival mode, and I'm not saying that any of it justifies any of his
Oh
actions,
no.
but like as an actor, like I do think that's a
Yeah.
really interesting like
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh world to kind of navigate, with your
Right.
character.
You kind
Everybody's
of
got to have
see
a point
that
of view.
like
Yeah.
at some point he doesn't really view his son as his son.
Yeah.
And what really like that scene when he gives him the ring,
Mhm.
he's like, "Oh, thanks, Dad," or whatever the line was.
Yeah.
And then his response is, "Call me Roger."
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's
Right.
using Roger as like a sign of respect.
Yeah.
But also it kind of makes the dynamic between the two feel less personal.
It's more transactional.
Yeah, it's more transactional. Because
Right.
then you see that kind of throughout where after he beats his son, and then
Mhm.
he's like, "Oh, you ever been laid? You're a
Mhm.
virgin? That's crazy." And
Let me
then
finish your tattoo.
you want me to finish your tattoo?
Oh.
And then
Yeah.
like he gets him a date like with that
Yeah.
one chick immediately following that scene, and it's kind of almost like he's treating him like a bro. Like
Yeah,
he's trying to
yeah, like a partner. And I think
yeah.
the sad part is he also realizes he also uses like he wants his son to be a business partner, but also uses their relationship over him to help manipulate him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. The cigarette thing I think is really interesting because he lights him up the cigarette every time they get in the van. He
Right.
lights his dad's cigarette for him. He gives him a cigarette, lights it for him. Except whenever he catches the son trying to help the wife again, Asita.
The wife of the man they killed her husband.
Right,
He
and
fell off the scaffold. It wasn't premeditated murder, but they didn't help him. The father let him die.
right,
You know?
Yeah,
let him
he
die.
died like quickly
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
I think it was a artery in his
Yeah,
leg,
that's
which is
Yeah.
like
like
an
Yeah.
almost instant death
right.
there.
Um, and when he gets him into the van that night, that's so that when he puts the motorcycle in the van, you're not driving home by yourself. You're
Oh,
coming
that's
home with
right.
me. I'm your father type moment, and he gets him in the van. There's two things that I really I found really interesting is one, instead of getting our over the shoulder kind of POV look, we're sitting in the back of the van, very stationary and there's very few times in this movie where the camera is purely stationary, and we're stationary and it's just their two silhouettes, and he all goes to offer his dad his cigarette, and his dad's like,
said,
put that thing
"No."
away. No, I don't want it. And
that shot is like when you go to your friend's house
yeah,
and they get in trouble
even
with
their
their
parents,
and
yeah.
you're just sitting there awkwardly like
Yeah.
watching it happen because you're like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, something's wrong.
Man, and that was my like stomach really sank for the kid, because like
With the cigarette.
yeah, and that is the moment where I felt like it just, I mean, I felt bad for the kid throughout the whole film, but my stomach just sank when I saw that happen, because it was like this kid really, even after all of that, was still wanting his father's affection.
Right.
And his father was so frustrated that his like son just wouldn't like let go of his morality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You just wish there was more empathy
Well,
for his child. It's really,
I think that's the moment where his son really finally just says, screw this.
yeah,
Because after that, he just keeps pressing on.
yeah,
He doesn't even like
pressing
listen
on.
to his father nearly as much
yeah.
after that.
And I was like, in the moment he realizes that baby's got like, you know, family in Italy, he's like, we're getting you to Italy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, but I mean, it is after that where I think like the relationship between him and his father is like immediately like, you know,
Yeah, because isn't that the one right before when he steals the van?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. The next day, yeah, because that's when he's telling him about that's right after the telegram,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Telling her that her husband is in Cologne, and you know, he happens to walk in right after the telegram and is like, oh, I can give you a ride to Cologne. I wonder what my son's doing here. And
All a setup. Yeah.
right, it's all a setup, and the son, you know, steals her and the baby essentially with the van the next morning,
Yeah.
he tricks the father into letting the van unattended with her in it, and he just jumps in and starts going. um and he's and it's was he know the father, we never explicitly know the father's plans for when they go into Cologne, right? But the kid knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's gonna sell.
And that's why he was so desperate to steal her. And he reveals that he's like, Roger doesn't refer to him as my father at that point. That's the first time
He calls him Roger.
he calls him Roger.
Good
He
deep
says
reading.
Roger is going to sell you as a whore in Germany. Like that. That's what he's doing. That's what he's bringing you to go do. And like you, I don't. I mean, it's like this beautiful moment where this kid is like finally like free of his dad, but like now they're like on the run from.
Wouldn't you say he's coming of age in that scene?
It is a coming of age story.
Yeah,
It's so wild because when you read the synopsis, you're like, how is this a coming of age story?
You say that, but is it really less wild of a plot than a group of boys going to see a dead body?
Yeah, that's true.
Stand by me. Yeah.
And them revealing their like the one kid revealing his horrible home life to all the other
Yeah.
kids.
That's true.
That's an interesting comparison. That's it.
Well, and
and after he steals the van, what he not only he steals his mind so much because he's rescuing. Of course, I mean, for sure, he was unintentionally involved in the death of the woman's husband, but they're not he's not telling her that, rigidly not telling her how her husband died. She still thinks maybe he'll come meet me in Italy. My husband, I'm going to somehow get to Italy, and in the middle of all that, the baby gets sick. This is after he stole the van. The baby gets sick. And at some point, the woman becomes furious with the kid. You go back to your mother's womb, because the kid is so empathetic. He cries at numerous times in the film. Incredible acting, and not just
performances all around in this film are phenomenal.
I was especially impressed with the 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh, 16-year-old. Yeah. just unreal. And they said, they told him, don't look, obviously, don't look at the camera like you're acting, all those kind of good things. And he followed those instructions. I mean, the way he acted in the film, and apparently they did a lot of rehearsals, a lot of just living in the neighborhood so that they felt like they had lived in that neighborhood, lived in those apartments. And the actor played the dad said I said, this is crazy. I'm teaching a 16-year-old how to smoke. This is just wrong. But that kind of, that all of that authenticity paid off in the film. And that kid just steeled himself, because then the mother turns on him, but he sticks with her. She gets sick too. And they go to the hospital, and that's kind of the turning toward somewhere in Act 3, where we're finally going to be reaching a conclusion. You don't know how it's going to be, what kind of conclusion. Oh God, you're just dreading that father's going to show up at some point. And
Yeah,
I was not expecting like the spiritual aspects.
Oh my
Of
goodness.
this movie.
The mysticism is so interesting.
Yeah, with the Ghanaian shaman.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
seer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where he was talking about like, oh, your baby's sick because an ancestor has not received
Yeah.
proper justice
Ooh.
for whatever reason.
what I think is really interesting is those scenes are always shown from the outside looking in, like you are the kid watching this thing
That's
that you
right.
have no cultural background of. It's not something you understand.
Yeah,
But also every time, from his perspective, that is telling the truth. Like,
Yeah.
the father is near, there is an angry ancestor, the kid is sick. Like, all
yeah. From his perspective, he's like, oh shit, this is real.
and I think that is driving for him to actually what we end up with the actual confession.
Yeah,
Because I think the kid was like, if I can just fulfill my promise, the film,
the premise.
the La Premise, then I think he could have like morally survived it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he could just get, like, I promised him I would take care of his wife and daughter. If I could get them to his brother in Italy, so they were family.
Right.
You know, but it really is the mysticism side of that, where it's like
the driving force.
right, like my conscience will never be clean. This kid will never be healthy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still not doing right unless I come clean
Yeah.
about my hand in this.
Yeah,
about
because
what
not too
happened.
long after they see the seer, Roger finds him,
Yeah.
and then he's
Oh.
like, "We have to tell her. We have to tell her."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why am I telling her shit?"
Yeah. And then
like,
chases him.
Yeah, and then starts chasing him around like a lunatic.
Yeah.
Um, I I had
A
something else.
lunatic that's
I
chained
lost it
up.
because we're on a mysticism.
And he's chained up in the auto. So the father really can only go so far, and that
Yeah.
was so incredible. He's using every bit of manipulation, like you guys said, to pull the kid in. Here's some money. Just take it. If he takes anything from the father's going to grab him, because the
Yeah.
father is much stronger than the kid. Father's going to grab, or please give me my glasses back. If he gives the glasses back, he's going to be grabbed. It was so tense. I had to fast forward 10 seconds on the Criterion thing
It is really different.
to get past that. And then I realized, oh, he didn't give him the glasses. He's free. And so I went back and watched it because it was so tense.
I think that scene is really interesting. One, you see, like, he finally pulls out the father card in like a full guilt way. I'm
Oh, yeah.
your father. You can't even give me my glasses. You can't even do that for me.
Yeah. Well, I remembered what I was gonna say, and it was on the father versus Roger kind of thing. You even see other characters don't even refer to him as his father. Typically, they call him Roger, like to the kid's face.
Yeah.
Like people don't come up to me and say like my mother's name. They say your mother,
Right.
or your mom or something. And like you see the guy that works for them,
Yeah.
sort of as kind of like
He's-
muscle, or
yeah,
he's kind of a
like
a few other things.
I think the idea is like he kind of helps manipulate things in the slum house so everyone stays under
Roger's thumb.
Yeah.
But like he goes up to Igor and says, "Oh, does Roger know this?" And then like the lady is helping throughout the whole thing. She doesn't really call him his father, for most of the time they're together, they go, "Oh, Roger."
Yeah.
Unless she's like angry at Igor, then she's like, "Oh, your father."
Yeah.
Like there was that one point where she's all the
All the
people in
people-
France are
Yeah, all the people in this country are something like Roger. I can't remember what it is.
I can't remember what the exact line was, but she basically said she hated all of France.
Yeah.
France.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. But oh God. And how about I mean, there's plenty to talk about. How about so now that we're kind of at the end of the film too. But one thing, do you think so? They're going up the stairs at the end of the film. The kid gets away from his father. The woman that he's been helping and her baby with her baby on her back. They feels like they're walking in time to the train station to get to Italy, so she can go to Italy. On the way, looks like on the way to the tracks, the kid finally says, just out of nowhere, but he says it. We killed your husband. That your husband died. My father would not help him. I wouldn't take the hospital. Wouldn't help him. And in just a short way, and he's buried in concrete right by where we live. The answer. And then she just stops and kind of slumps over, but she doesn't go up those stairs. And end of film. She walks out through the whole credits. You hear the sound of the train station. Do you think her decision is to go to the police at that point? Or did she get on that train? Was she gonna? What do you think? I wasn't sure.
I do think it's left up to interpretation. And when I first watched it, like my brain was like, she's got to get on the train, right? Like
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
Roger's like dangerous, and I
Yeah, she
think
can't
at
be
this
in
point, her
France.
staying around
Yeah.
is bad. Is
Get
gonna
to
be
Yeah,
Italy.
bad for
and
her.
it's also proved the movie also showed us that the police aren't going to help
Yeah,
people that are illegal immigrants.
right, because there's
Right.
nothing that shows that he was even in this country. There's nothing that shows that he's like an official worker. All they have is their residency, which helped him in the hospital, but didn't necessarily help them with the police.
Yeah.
The thing I will counter to that, though, is she is proven to be very headstrong and principled
Absolutely.
throughout all of this.
Right.
And she also only believes that her baby is going to be healthy if that ancestor, the troubled ancestor,
Oh,
receives justice.
Oh,
That's what the
yeah.
seer says.
good point. Yeah.
And so I do think she might be trying to go to either the authorities, or maybe there might be, I think there's a chance that there might be some vigilante justice coming Roger's way. Like there is, I do think she's not getting on the train immediately.
No,
Yeah.
not immediately.
Yeah,
I
It
think she
looks like a
goes to
change of direction. Yeah.
eventually.
surely.
Because
Yeah.
it's like there's nothing in
There's
there.
nowhere else to go.
Yeah, there's nowhere in France for her.
Yeah,
And she left her original country for a reason.
right.
So may as well go to Italy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talks of the quarries
yeah.
and stuff. So like I do think like
Lost 3 toes or something.
yeah, like the situation they're obviously leaving to go to Belgium illegally is pretty severe.
Much better.
Yeah.
The situation in Belgium was much better.
Yeah, but up until
Yeah, up until
the
Hamadou
Scalpadu incident.
died by
Yeah.
accident. That was a really long shot too.
Yeah,
Like I think that was probably the longest one because the camera just sits there.
stays. It's
and it
what
holds.
it's over his shoulder. You see her. He gives his whole spill. She takes off her hat. She turns away. You see a moment of
Right.
reflection.
He takes
And
off her
then
hat.
she goes, and we watch them walk
Yeah,
all the way down, and you see him stop, and then he runs up to catch up with her. It's a
Yep.
very long shot.
yeah, that was fresh in your mind, Nicole.
It is fresh on my mind.
It's and it's funny. The film reminds me. You're kind of going into Italian neorealism too, like Bicycle Thieves, and you think about kind of comparing this. And in Bicycle Thieves, you got a father and a son. The father's desperately trying to keep his job in post-war Italy. His job is reliant on having that bike, he will end up doing an immoral thing. He at the end, tries to steal another bike so that he can have a bike to make a living hanging up movie posters and posters in general around Rome. But then the kid realizes he's just heartbroken when he realizes his dad has been caught. But but this is like an inverse Bicycle Thieves, because the father is a good-hearted, kind, good man in Bicycle Thieves, and
Right.
here
Yeah.
you've got a father that's just corrupt almost to the core. But it's funny, in both films the kid really has that sense of ethics, ethos. The kid has that sense of morality here, especially so because the father's so bad, and he's got to do. But it just kind of reminded me of Bicycle Thieves, kind of a different version of
Mm. I definitely see the connection.
Yeah,
I think it's very
I
interesting.
also think like her. I wish I remembered her name,
I think
but
it's Asita.
yeah, I just
Asiata?
know as Hamadou's wife.
Yeah.
Because they referred to her like that a few times. But I think her reaction at the end was
oh,
more realistic. Like most other movies that kind of would have a similar ish plot, I
Mm-hmm.
think she would like react, lash out on Igor, and then it just would
right,
very clearly have a falling out. But she suspects that he's dead throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
right,
After like I think day 3 is when she starts suspecting
It's
that he's
Asita.
actually dead. And then and she knows Igor knows something because he's not a good liar.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
not a
and at
good
one
liar at
point,
all.
she straight up is like, "Tell me the truth. Look me in the eyes. Is my husband
And he does a
dead?"
horrible job at
He
lying.
does a horrible job at lying, and we as he walks off, we stay on her face, which
Mhm.
I think is to imply that she's
She knows.
I'm just not fully buying that, you know.
Yeah. Like
Um.
she knows he knows something,
Yeah.
but
but
also I think she also knew because she liked Igor,
Yeah.
hated his father.
Right. Justifiably.
So she knew that like Igor didn't intentionally do anything.
Right.
He was just stuck under a crazy father,
Yeah.
and that's kind of why it was the way he was throughout the
Well, and
movie.
she befriends this kid. I think
Yeah,
has empathy for this kid, more empathy. I think at the end we see that she has more empathy for this kid than the kid's father actually does,
yeah.
because
She
yeah,
also saw him lash out on him.
right. Well, and also justifiably, she could have just smacked him. And you know what I mean? And like gone off on him. And I don't think anyone would have been like she's in the wrong. But she understands that this is just like a hurting child who's
yeah,
being asked to handle a situation that is way above something that he can handle.
Yeah,
Which is something that the father like just doesn't feel for. I think in the movie
no,
at all.
yeah, and
Eh,
she does see a moral compass in
mm,
him throughout various points because he is trying to help her
yeah.
throughout the whole film, even if he's not telling her what happened to her husband or like you know going to the police on certain things, maybe even trying a couple times to avoid the hospital as much as possible. So I think her see, because you also see her when she walks off. Igor's like, do I go with her? Do I go my own way? And then you see her run after her and just walk beside
just
her,
walk
and she
beside
doesn't
her.
do, she doesn't do anything to her. So I
Yeah,
think they continued their dynamic even all the
yeah,
way to Italy. Like
and,
Mhm.
got justice for Roger. That's my interpretation. Because where does Igor have to go? He's not going to
oh,
stay in for.
he's
He
Yeah.
doesn't have
yeah.
though. All he has now is her.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. They've got each other. And it took all that time to where, like you guys were saying, for her not to go finally, it took all that time and all Igor helping her and to where finally at that moment she would not go off on him. She could accept this had happened and just walk off instead of, but other than before then, I think she would have gone off on Igor. But by
Yeah.
then it was, yeah, it was safe for
It's
him to.
the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
The fifth
Oh,
stage
good
is
point.
acceptance.
And
Jeez.
I wonder, there's this whole movie is about the promise, right? That he makes to
Yeah.
La
La
Premise.
Premise, that makes to Hamdao. And that inherently connects him to her in such an intrinsic way. And I wonder how much at the end is she going to be there to help him now, as like
Yeah.
an adult who actually has like a
Oh,
sense of empathy
great.
and like knows like will actually care for a child.
Yeah.
And because obviously
Yeah.
Roger isn't that.
No,
Um,
that's a
beautiful
great
movie.
It is a gorgeous film.
Yeah,
What was that time?
yeah. We
I
wanna,
don't know. I got lost in the conversation. I have not been keeping time.
that's fine.
Usually
Oh,
you're the one.
we have
Uh,
wafted our way through another hour and a half.
yeah.
Yeah.
As long as the film is, but what a film! And you know
Beautiful
the
movie.
Les Infants was, I think I was looking up there the directory of the directors what they had done, and definitely I've recognized you can recognize the Dardenne brothers, and you can recognize some of the things that some of the other films that they've done, and it sounds like they've. And then the actors did well. The only one that I didn't see on the and this is just Wikipedia, but the mother I didn't see where her acting career might have continued, but definitely the father and son have done well, and they love working with this crew. Apparently, it's like kind of those when those brothers working together, they have the same
Oh
crew,
yeah.
the same sound man. 20 years later is there, and they love getting together. Um, Kind of remind me. I think brother filmmakers or best friend filmmakers can make some best teams, some terrific teams. Kind of remind me of other brother filmmaker or where they're siblings, the Wachowskis. What's another
Yeah.
one? The Cohen brothers.
Cohen brothers.
Yeah.
Right. The Safdie brothers.
Oh yeah, they're the ones that make Adam Sandler a good actor.
Yeah.
Oh, that in that Uncut Gems, is that the?
Uncut
Oh yeah.
Gems. Also,
Yeah,
I don't know if either of you've seen Good Time.
I've heard good ones about that one, and I've heard the same thing where they made Adam Sandler.
Well, that's not Adam Sandler.
Oh,
That's
is it?
It's an R Pat.
It was about time.
Anyway, sorry, I don't really get that. I do really love that movie. Yeah. Okay. Coffee beans.
Oh yeah, coffee beans.
Oh
Who wants to go
yeah.
first?
Oh man.
I
Oh
think I
man.
think you did. Yeah, O'Brien.
What you
You-
got?
What's your rating?
I'll go with 9. I mean, it's just terrific. It is. I mean, I had to pause the movie. I stopped it with 10 minutes left last night because I thought I can't do anymore. And then like I said, even when the father and the glasses, and what a great prop. Those glasses are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the actors, the ones he wears are nothing like that. But just everything fits so well. But anyway, yeah, go with 9 beans for sure.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Belgium
I
beans.
think I think starting into this, I would have given it a solid 8. I think I also got to give it 9 beans because this is a movie I think I would definitely love to watch again. It has its own problems.
Yeah.
Um, although I think we've talked a lot more about the good stuff it does than
Yeah.
the problems. So it's very limited. It's like just some little things here and there.
I think I'm only gonna give it an 8, but it is like
Solid.
it is 8, but it's like a perfect shot of espresso. It is
A perfect double
shot of espresso.
for you.
Yeah, it is. I just think this movie's super meaty. There's a lot to get into,
Mhm.
and I think it's beautifully shot. It's a great movie. I'll watch it again.
Yeah.
It's for sure going to be something a year from now I'm going to think of and have to revisit. And
I think it was the cinematography that really nudged it to
hey, dude, that is really like my favorite type of filmmaking. I just the story just felt so intimate, and
and the acting felt real.
the acting is so the performances are so good. It is really
Cole's about to cry, guys.
I really love this movie, man. I really think
It's so good. And yeah,
good.
these brothers, the Dardennes brothers, probably butchering their names, but they've been making documentaries since the 70s, and one of their latest films was Tori and Lakita did well at the Cannes Film Festival in 2022. So they're
okay.
still
Yeah,
out
so
there.
still making
Oh,
movies.
so the documentary thing does have a connection
It
with
does.
the cinematography.
Yeah.
does.
here.
This may have been the last one they made. They were completely broke, and their previous film had been just a flop. And so their producers backed out. They sold their houses and made this film, and it saved their careers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Time to. Y'all ready for the random generation?
Let's see
You
what we
got
got.
it.
All right.
Random
Drum roll.
generator. Woohoo! What's next
Oh.
week? This is so exciting. Ooh.
Number 552
Ooh.
in the collection, which is going to be. Let's just type in 552. Internet's. Oh,
Is it Time Bandits?
no, it's not Time Bandits.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Cole.
No, that's just what
It
Google
is.
AI gave me. Broadcast news.
Yeah, it was broadcast news. I was about to say it's 132 minutes, 1987.
Yeah.
Let's see. William Hurt and Albert Brooks are in it,
And Holly Hunter.
and Holly Hunter. Yeah,
Oh,
Miss
terrific. I've seen this one. It's
Elastigirl.
fantastic. It is
Okay.
it is a great behind the scenes narrative view of broadcast news. Yeah. Oh man, be interesting to see this film remade today, given what's happened in news. but in the as far as the 80s and classic broadcast news, this is
Sweet.
James
I'm
Brooks.
gonna see
Wow.
where you can watch this right now.
Ooh, good point.
It looks like it's only to rent on this.
Oh, is it not on the Criterion channel?
Yeah, it's not on the channel. Probably some licensing thing. Or you can buy it with the 50% off sale right now.
That's right. That's
At
exactly
Barnes and
right.
Noble.
You want me? Should I give the synopsis?
Do you want to give the spiel?
Yeah, I can do it. I'm just gonna read. This is synopsis from the Criterion channel.
Oh yeah.
Since the 1970s, the name James L. Brooks has been synonymous with intelligent television comedy. His shows are insightful about working with. Oh, this is also about him. Let's see. He's also a master storyteller of the big screen. None of his films are more quintessentially Brooks than broadcast news.
Slow down. This is a podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm getting to the point where they actually give the synopsis. This caustic look inside the Washington News media stars Holly Hunter in a breakout role as a feisty television producer torn between an ambitious yet dim anchorman and her closest confidant, a cynical veteran reporter. Brooks's witty, gently pathetic film's captivating transmission from an era in which ideas on relationships and the media were rapidly changing.
It's the Criterion. They try to sell you on the movie. They don't tell you
What
it's
it's
about.
I mean, other than we got a love triangle going on with Holly Hunter.
Yeah,
Okay.
which I'm here for.
Yeah, taking place in a news station. I could be into that.
Yeah, I'm
Alright.
interested.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I also, Cole, wrote an outro since you didn't even believe
You're such
about the
an
intro.
overachiever. It's wild.
That's crazy. I've never heard that ever as a descriptor
Yeah.
to me. Well, before we go, please like and share if you enjoy this podcast. And if you want to bring your own ideas from the movies we watch, or just wish to chat about cinema or coffee in general, then leave a comment and engage with us. We're on YouTube
Absolutely.
under Fresh Brew Productions, and our Instagram and Facebook are also the same, Fresh Brew Productions. So like and share, please. And the whole point of us random generating and telling you what movie we're going to watch next is not a cliffhanger for same bat time, same bat channel. It's more of an engagement with everybody that's listening.
Yeah, please watch the movies and send us your thoughts. And if they are good and relevant, we will.
Yeah, tell us
include them.
how horrible our opinions are.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Make fun of me for butchering names and getting people confused.
Well, we can.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, the man to know the most important factor in the Dutch way.
Look.
I don't even think he's not even Dutch.
Yeah,
He's French.
that was a bad one.
I think
All right,
there's a
well-
Dutch new way, but yeah, but maybe not John. Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. That was the wrong director. Or he's not a director. He's an actor who I confused with a director. Anyway,
I'm Isaac.
I'm Cole.
I'm O'Brien.
And Goldblum you later.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Same Goldblum channel. Same.
Oh,
Absolutely.
all right, bye.